Good morning from Milano. I have David Whyte on my mind this morning. David Whyte, the great poet, philosopher I cite frequently because he is someone I listen to who gives me a lot of perspective. And it's almost like, when you meet someone or you know someone or you listen to someone who is a few steps ahead of you. And when I say ahead of you, I mean someone who has already been down the path maybe you find yourself on. Or importantly, someone like David Whyte, who in his creative artistic endeavors has taken the time and done the work to articulate some aspect of the human condition, which is, of course, universal. Anyway, I was listening to a lecture and he was talking about a couple of things that I wanted to share here. One of them is around shyness. And when I say shyness, it's really about feeling awkward and vulnerable. He was talking about that awkward shyness being a tell or a clue. He said shyness tells you you're in the presence of something you desire. And my immediate thought was, that is really true. And this shyness, sense of vulnerability, however you may want to refer to it, can show up, for example, in a long-term relationship, a friendship, a marriage, where there's sort of a deeply embedded blueprint for the way you talk, the kinds of conversations you have. And we can feel sort of shy and awkward about finding a way to break through to a different aspect of intimacy in the relationship. We can feel that same shyness or vulnerability towards a longing we have, an ambition we have. David was talking about that shyness is part of the awkwardness we feel in moving forward. I found that a very rich and interesting way to think about it. I was just sitting here noodling. Why was that speaking to me so much? And of course, what came up for me was that rocket fuel call, because beyond how fun and invigorating this idea of the misogi is for me, this articulating one big thing for the year, the rocket fuel call for me was really an important thing in my intimate interior life. I've talked about many times in the past how much I enjoy group interaction because I love getting energy from being with like-minded people. And I think it's a privilege to be in the presence of people who are willing to share their stories. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. This shyness and vulnerability I've been feeling about it really was an important clue that it was something that I desire. In one of the episodes last week, I was talking about Billy Joel and how sometimes the difficulties we have are because we've set the bar too high in our mind. The stakes are too high. And I would say that this is another side of the coin, this idea that shyness and vulnerability is a clue that you're in the presence of something you really desire. And it's really important that we allow ourselves to be patient with that awkwardness because that's simply a way of moving forward and moving towards something that we're longing for, that we desire. I want to end today with this thought around how we betray our own knowingness, our own inner authority. We often tend to talk about our fears and doubts, like we're not qualified or we're not ready. And I guess I just like this idea of thinking of awkwardness, vulnerability, and shyness as a sort of invisible pull that is revealing both a longing and what I think is really a buried deep knowingness. When I think of it this way, I'd have to say that my misogi for the year is around convening people, probably in the form of a workshop. And in fact, as I'm talking about this, what's coming up for me is this memory I have of one day when I was sitting outside having my quiet time on Martha's Vineyard last summer. I had a complete download of what felt like a really exciting workshop. I even shared it with a couple of people and proceeded to talk myself right out of it. This is actually bringing up something that David Whyte mentioned, which I circled and put stars around, and it's this. We tend to gloss over things that are actually really precious to us. When we find the courage, when we allow ourselves to be patient with our awkwardness and shyness and muster up the courage to do whatever that thing is, that can be the very thing that shows us the path forward. we tend to gloss over things that are actually really precious to us. That is really true. And that is excellent fodder and a perfect note to self to end on today. I'll leave you with that. Until next time, from my heart to yours.